Hello, everyone. Welcome to the lab today. So today is the new episode. If you have watched the past couple ones, it's about Fiber and Aurora, as well as the HandTrap series, or HandTrap episode. You will already know what today's episode is about. If you haven't, please go check those videos. The links will be also be down in the description. So if you have, then you know today's topic is about anti-HandTraps. It's the first episode about anti-HandTraps. So without further ado, let's just start through like the history again, just to go through what kind of thing people being played against every possible hand traps in the history. Well, not every possible, but majority of them. So let's start. The first one is Prohibition. This is a card says you activate by declaring a card name. Anything that's not already on the field, those cards cannot be used. So it's rather say it's a card against hand traps. It's very specifically only against like field. Like if your combo is significantly weak against some specific hand trap, you can use it. But obviously we get like new battle cards, or you will see it later in this video. This is kind of already outdated. Now the purpose of doing it now is more like just using it to counter some like one card center strategy. Like people have played this in a spiral format where they call super agent. Since all their monster is super agent with name, you can just shut down a lot of things, uh, including their tough, including their agent, tough, and helix. And also it whenever used as a or you can use it like against Owlitch, which is call their Golden Lord, and they just none of their cards gonna be working if they don't have a Golden Lord. If you really want to use this, then nowadays as a hand trap, uh, one thing people usually do is call Nibiru, because Nibiru has a specific condition where it only works after you already summon 5 times. So maybe you can just do like 4 summons, see you do get any hand trap or not. Then you activate Prohibition, call Nibiru, then keep doing combos. And then he will just, like, the Nibiru just cannot be activated. One special thing is Prohibition only affects cards that's not already on the field when it's called activate. So imagine your opponent has like what a Mirror Force. You activate Prohibition called Mirror Force. That Mirror Force can still be activated because it's already on the field before Prohibition was activated. So yeah, that's the first one, the Prohibition. I'll just keep it up here. Second one is Cyblocker. Uh, this is a walking prohibition, if I recall it. It has almost the same effect. Says you declare a card's name, card with that name, and their effects cannot be used until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's like a 2-turn prohibition. However, the difference is this card is a monster, so it's like relatively easier accessible. And as well as it actually does negating things that's already on the field. So uh, however, as a monster, it usually require normal summon, right? So it's more like using in those strategy where you don't rely on normal summon, such as if you play a pendulum deck, you can normal summon this and do scale pendulum summon against any possible thing. And just because it was using more in pendulums, it also stops like a biggest opponent of pendulum cards in general, which is anti-spell. Imagine your opponent has already flipped anti-spell against you. You can still normal Cyblocker, call anti-spell, and turn the anti-spell off. That's a strategy people have been used just to counter anti-spell. But meanwhile, if you start with it, you can also use it to counter hand traps. So it's cool, but just because it's a monster, it costs normal summon. That's why it's not being played as much as other cards. So next, it's see, there's a biggest issue that has been around LCG. It's Maxi. Therefore, in order to play the game, pretty much, you need a plan to against Maxi. Otherwise, Maxi resolve, none of your combo is gonna be going through, right? Because you will just give your opponent infinite cards, and by the time you end the combo, you don't even guarantee end the combo at that point because your opponent gonna throw every possible interruption they draw. Second, even you do end the combo, they might just be having infinite cards and can just throw everything against your board, and your board is like nothing. So for ways against Maxi, there's so many things people can do. One of them was actually just abuse. One of them, the simple way, just to negate it, was Ash. Because Maxi is a card that has a effect that draws. So Ash could just negate it. The other one is also a way, is Draw, where people think, all right, Ash might, there's only 3 copies, or before Ash was even semi-limited in OCG. Maybe I don't have 2 Ash, just not enough. So I want to Draw. As long as, like, see, I'm fine not drawing things, as long as you also not drawing things. As long as I don't need to search anymore, I can just continue my combos. If your combo that can just special summon without searching. So draw was also being played. It's like a hand trap being played to counter another hand trap, which is a way. The other way, instead of really stopping it, is to abuse it. We can we can just deck them out. we can just the everyone's favorite Maxi challenge. We play into the Maxi because once Maxi has resolved, they have to draw one every time we special summon it. As long as we special summon enough times to a point, their deck, their hands, they have more cards in hand than how many cards left in the deck. You can just card destruction for game. So it's a cool strategy, but card destruction is limited. So you can play more copy of card destruction. Use left arm to search. As long as you don't have never set this card, this is also working. Like the only side effect is you cannot set cards the turn you activate. So if you already set anything, you can't activate this card anymore. But if you play a combo deck, usually you don't have many things to set. The only thing a conflict is it will not work if you have reboot this turn. Because reboot, yes, reboot does set cards and negate your opponent's trap and set it. Then your opponent can set another card. Ultimately, you are setting cards with your effect. Even it's their card, it's still you setting it, so it will conflict with left arm. It's a very tricky thing that sometimes people just don't even realize it, but it can happen. So another way, well, this is a thing that's been gone in TCG already, is grass. People take the Maxi challenge, and obviously if they draw with Maxi, there's gonna be less and less card in their deck. So now your grass able to mill more, and more things being milled with grass means more cards or more resources you have, which also equivalent to more possibility for you to special summon to go into the Maxi challenge more. So yeah, this is just a way people playing Maxi. However, or playing against Maxi. However, there's a major weakness of Maxi. Oh, there's a major weakness for these cards that counter Maxi, is that all these 3 cards can get negated by Ash. So Ash, as everyone know, is the one of them both. It's not always the best hand trap in the format, but it's always like a decent one because it can negate a lot of things that usually other cards cannot negate. And Maxi being another one, to be honest. So there's also a lot of ways to counter Ash. Like sometimes these are even combined with these and the cards I'm gonna talk about in the following. Because whenever people take the Maxi challenge, they just want to resolve like card destruction for game. But before that, they have to make sure the card destruction will not be negated by Ash, because otherwise it just doesn't matter. And since you give them so many cards, it's almost guaranteed they're gonna have an Ash at some point. So one way people do is also a long going in the history is to make an Azathoth. You make an outer entity Naira, then overlay an Azathoth on it. This card says the turn it's Exceed summon, no monster effect for opponent. So yeah, no Ash on the card destruction that you're gonna kill them. So that's an idea. Second idea is what's even being played now, because by the time this video is recorded, Inferno was one of the deck. Dolphin, well, Neospin Acro Dolphin with Neospatian Connector. Dolphin's effect, you pitch a card in your hand to check your opponent's hand to destroy a monster over there that has less attack than any of your monster on the field. Then you burn 500. Because Ash Ash and majority of the hand trap has low attack, usually zero, if not like a couple hundred. Dolphin at 600 can destroy majority of the hand trap existing, which is very neat. And since Connector is another card on summon, can bring out Dolphin from either hand or deck. So you can do things like try to bring out, take the Maxi challenge, try to bring out Dolphin. Dolphin check their hand, rip their Ash, then call Destruction for game. That's one way. Another way is drag down. Since now we start getting some cards that like check your opponent's hand, right? There's another card. There's more cards that really do that, do the similar thing. Drag down is one. Another one is exchange. Uh, these two, these two are both cards that's like some people side in those super combo decks to when they going first, just straight activate. Look at your opponent's hand, similar with Dolphin, but Dolphin sometimes costs normal summon. These are spells, so it's easier to like combo with it. You see their hand, take away whatever threading, and finish your combo there. However, there's a downside. Drag down, both of them first has to kind of give up a card in your hand already. So sometimes you just have to think if it's worth or not. The other thing is drag down will give drag down will also draw a card after you pitch one. So where uh it's possible where your opponent just rip another hand trap off the top that you didn't see it. So that could be very scary. And exchange is the other because your opponent get to just take a card. If you open like somehow a hand trap with exchange, then it's a very awkward situation here. So yeah, these are like possible choices, but they all have their pros and cons. You just really have to think: is it really worth in committing so much into protecting your combos? And there's another one which is instant fusion. Um, to summon out Millenniumize Restricts. This was being played in last format in during the Spiral time, where people just start their turn with instant fusion, summon out Thornice or Millenniumize, and the Millenniumize says whenever your opponent activate a monster effect, you can equip a monster from your opponent's field or in graveyard to um, then anything activate or anything with the same name will be negated. So it's like a walking Call by Grave, and we will get to Call by Grave later, obviously, because everyone probably know that already. Um, the downside is this package doesn't really prevent Maxi because the opponent is just gonna chain Maxi on the instant fusion before Millennium is even landed to the field. This is better against like Droll or other like Ash or other hand traps. So, but it's just not against Maxi. But since Maxi is absent in TCG, that's why this engine was more popular back then during February and March. And unfortunately, due to the rule change, instant fusion has been limited. And by the time this video is recorded, it's still limited. Probably gonna stay limited forever, to be honest. So whether is it worth to run this 1-1 package anymore? That's debatable. It's based on your deck. So meanwhile, I just at least worth mentioning it. So let me clear the board a little bit. Let me put these cards here. Everyone probably know the rest. All right. So next, now I've covered pretty much how to against like what Maxi and Ash. There's another hand trap that's being played quite a lot recently. It's Imperm. As I covered in the last episode, Imperm is like a very weird hand trap. It's good because it's a trap, so it bypasses a lot of like the one you just saw. Like Dolphin can hit it, it's not a monster. Azathoth only lock monster, and so does Minimize, right? It's also bad because it's a trap. Because like if you go in first, it's really just a trap, and um, it doesn't. It's not like Ash where it has the tuner factor, and it's not like Vader has level 1 liked. Imperm is going first is really just a trap, and if you set it, then you are taking the risk of that being destroyed with your back rolls. So, me personally, really never a fan of Imperm, but I completely understand how powerful Imperm is. And just because it's so like it's relatively harder to counter it, that's why even like rare reboot, those cards usually people think like as a going second counter back row card can sometimes be used as just an anti-HandTrap card against specifically Imperm, since Imperm is being played so much in the format, just because the fact it's hard to be countered. And there's other like pseudo kind of preventing targeting cards that also like serve the purpose of being negating imperm. Saravius and Lexic All Dragon. I covered Saravius in the last episode in the hand trap episode. War Lexic All Dragon is just another like similar one to it. Saravius says whenever your opponent activate card or effect that target one of your monster you control, you can discard this card from your hand to negate it. That's it. And the World Chalice Guard Dragon says when same thing if when your opponent activate a card or effect that targets your linked monster, you can send this card from your hand or field to graveyard, negate it. That's it. So no one really played these specifically just for like a protection purpose because you can always run better cards. It's usually like, oh, I'm actually running like a ritual archetype, or I'm running like either Dragon Link or when Abel was around, Dragon Link or like a World Chalice. I drew this in my hand. Oh, I can use this now for the purpose of against Imperm. So yeah, there's just some way to do it, but obviously, there's another thought where instead of really figure out a way when those interruptions happen, the better way is really just prevent it happening. That's why there's Mythbreaker. Mythbreaker is just such a broken card. It was being discovered in like kind of the later half of the Gogi time. You the downside is you have to activate this card at the beginning of your main phase 1 or 2, but um, uh, only work during main phase ones. As says, both players cannot target their respective opponent's monster as an effect, and they're during their turn, their monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. Well, by your opponent's card, by their respective opponent's card effect. And when this card is already on the field, you cannot set or activate a new field spell. So card is very strong. Goki played it. Like this card, single card able to handle more than half of the hand trap. Vader, Emperor, Chill, all targets. Ogre destroys, and let me see. Token collector can't even work because it can destroy your tokens. Gizmo Fox can't even target your monster to summon the statue from the deck. And yeah, so that's like already very decent amount of the monster. The only thing works were like D Shifter, Nibiru, Ash Bell, and Cherries. Those some of them are relatively more situational hand traps and not being played as much as the one I mentioned earlier. And even Gamma only negates but doesn't destroy if the one is on the field. So Mythbreaker is a strong card. It's a very absurd card. That's why it's limited in TCG. Uh, but on the other hand, the downside sometimes does conflict with a lot of decks. Because recently there's like a decent amount of field spell strategy decks where you just can't use any of your field spells because this has to be activated at the beginning of main phase 1. So even you join into it later, you can't even activate it. It's just a brick card. And second, if your deck like such as Dragon Link, where you need your Blue Sector, Ravine, and maybe even Black Garden to resolve to help your combo, Midbreaker just completely conflicting with it. And that's why Dragon Link, unfortunately, just can't even run Midbreaker, even though it's like sort of one of the best combo decks in OCG history compared to Goki. It just can't run Midbreaker because it conflicted with the engine with the combo so much. So yeah, that's for now. That's for the next part of the hand trust, mainly talking about just imperm and mainly talk about imperm and some small like targeting effect. So next, obviously, we're gonna start with the more whatever people have been played. You probably expect this coming. I'm just saving it until the end. Call by, just call by. It's call by grave. It's one of the most simple way to say this card is designed to beat over hand traps. Because whatever says when a card when it's a free chain, you target a monster opponent's graveyard, where majority hand trap will send to graveyard on activation. You banish it, and for the rest of this turn and your next turn, cards with the same name cannot even be RB negated. Yeah, so it's designed to stop hand traps. And for whoever came here from the thumbnail, you see another one, a similar one, Crossout Designator. This is still an OCG card. It hasn't got imported to TCG yet. It has a similar effect where instead of call by banishing a 1 in your opponent's graveyard, Designator says you declare 1 and you banish a copy from your own deck. And only for that, the rest of that turn, anything with the same name got negated. And it's a hard once per turn. So then, because of this card, technically now you have what? 3 call by, 3 cross out, 2 or 3 ash, depends on the ban list and the history in OCG. There's that many cards just against Maxi, because Maxi was just so broken in the format. And since this card hasn't made to TCG, I think a lot of people here not really familiar with how you really building decks with it. Because I played it last year in summer in the Dragon Link format, in the OCG Dragon Link format, so I know like I have my first-hand experience when I was using it. So I guess let me just start with that. Back then when I was playing the OCG Dragon Link, remember Maxi was in the format. I was running 3 call by, 3 cross out, 6 of them. You just need as many things as you can to counter Maxi. Because if Maxi resolve, no more combos really. You just have to make a sphere pass turn. And obviously, because Crossout specifically says you have to banish one of your copy in your own deck. That's why you also have to run the corresponding target you want to negate in your own deck. Which, well, thankfully they're all hand traps because you mainly want to stop hand traps, right? So these cards also kind of work and when you go second at the same time. But since I was running a Dragon Link deck, I really want to go first majority of the time. I don't want a Maxi to break me. It's true that it's good going second, but I want to go first majority of the time. So there's only 2 Maxi in my main deck. There's an Ogre, a Vader, a Fantas, and an Imperm. Let's see. Ogre, because Ogre was being played because there's a lot of hand trap. There's a lot of field spells. So Ogre really works on a lot of them. That's why sometimes they can hurt. So sometimes you want to stop it. Vader and Imperm are really self-explanatory. They're just better hand trap in the format after the Maxi. Well, obviously there's forgot that. Obviously there's like 2 Ash. It was only at 2 because it was semi-limited during the time I played. I think now it's back to 3. So if you see any Inferno less, then there should be like 3 Ash just to counter Maxi right now. These are some like they're gonna use it on your LP or even aggro sometimes. So need to stop it. Also, like you can only counter Imperm with Crossout because Callby doesn't even work on Imperm. And Ash obviously just another answer to Maxi and good to have. I mean, sometimes an Ash on some like Surge or some special summon can even hurt. Phantasm is like a weird one. It's more because the Dragon Link deck able to search it, and that's why like it's a good one-off. So you sometimes you are able to search it, just grab it, and sometimes where you think your opponent just don't have that many hand trap, you can just really like cross all the Phantas out. In case like if your opponent just drop the Phantas when you have Fiber and LP Pisty, then it could be trouble because your opponent draw 4. That's the time maybe it's worth to like negate a Fantas. So that was my main deck. Nibiru wasn't even out at that point, so it wasn't in my list. But I will cover it when, like, based on the data I got after Nibiru was out. So in my side, there were 2 more Fantas, and obviously 1 more Maxi. Because going second, I want to see those cards. It's cards that win me games in the mirror match. Otherwise, I just can't deal with it. If they full combo, I most likely lose. So I just need a maxi, and I want to have the highest chance to see the maxis. That was my lineup. 3 Lancia. This is a card. It's naturally decent against the Dragon strategy during summer because there's like 3 copies of each black and white babies, and that banishes a lot, right? And also Lavenier as well. And on the other hand, Lancia, remember, both call by and Crossout says you have to banish a card somewhere. Call by being banished your opponent's graveyard, and Crossout being banished a card in your deck. Therefore, if you have like Maxi plus Lancia, you can really just combo, like you Maxi, your opponent chain either call by or Crossout, you chain Lancia to those so they cannot banish it, the Maxi will resolve. And that's why Lancia was there. Also, Gamma, because Gamma is another hand trap that just doesn't lose to Maxi, or doesn't lose to Call by Grave. And it's also relatively a strong trap. I mean, strong hand trap. And the downside is the driver, but hey man, it's worth. So, and there are some like quick tricky things. Going second, obviously gonna put everything in because I just need as many things to stop them as I can. But going in first, I will do some like weird siding. Like it's possible I putting 1 copy of Lancia and 1 copy of Gamma in my main while I'm going inside. When I'm going first after siding. Reason being, yes, there's a deck Gamma in my deck. What am I doing, right? But if my opponent Gamma me, I can just cross out, banish that single Gamma out of the deck, so I can negate a Gamma. Which otherwise you just have to play into it. That sometimes can be pretty hurt. And I'll probably just side out some other non-engine cards, maybe side out the Fantas, because I can, like, based on order priority, I want to stop these hand traps instead of Fantas. I might side out the Fantas. And it sucks if you draw it, yes. But if you're in a situation where your opponent gamma you and you just had to cross out, then it's probably worth. Some people might even ask, why do I play 2 Maxi for crossout? Just because Maxi is so important to stop, and you don't want to be like, oh, I drew that 1 single copy of Maxi, so I cannot cross out another one for the deck because I don't have it. Just to prevent that happen, that's why there are 2 Maxi in the main, and there's another Maxi in the side for in case I go second. So this was like just a general idea. You do gonna see this Saki one-off lineup in a lot of those OCG decks. This could just be part of the reason why it happening. Yeah, so this was my Dragon Link, my experience during last year's summer. And there's another data I have where after Nibiru was out, Nibiru and there are some formats where, for example, if you play a Salomon Great deck, right, you're gonna have like and Nibiru in general wasn't really that amazing in the format, and also because it's a Salad deck, sometimes it doesn't really need to have the call by because only Maxi hurts, and none of the other hand trap really stopping the deck. So in a Salad deck, you sometimes gonna see a hand trap lineup like like this in the main deck. No call by the grief, only cross out. Some copy of Maxi, some copy of an Ash, because the Salad deck you need like good traps. Usually like three. Usually like max 3 copy of Maxi, 2 copies of Ash, because that's the most they can play at that point. It was semi-limited. Nibiru was in general not the best hand trap because Maxi were existing, but because you're playing a Salad deck, you're losing to Nibiru quite hard if that happens. So people will like the Salah player will try to main 2 copies of Nibiru, so they can just like cross out it and to prevent they getting Nibiru. And in addition to it, run any copies of the rest other random hand traps like Phantazogre, Vader, Imperm, any number of these based on where they think the format was. So that was a cool idea. That was like some data I have after Nibiru was out and how like a deck sort of relatively weak to Nibiru will counter it. Also, in addition, this card sometimes can even work like a trap. Go back to my Dragonlings experience when I was playing mirror match. I've had I've had my quick launch get negated by Crossout. It was like going second. I don't think I've used that many hand traps, or I used some. They either play into it, they just save the call by. I mean, they just saved the Crossout because I did maxi them. So at the end phase, they finished the turn with like some monster on the board. Not I auto win board, but it was like a decent mid range board with the Crossout set. And I start my turn. It was a mirror. I started my turn with quick launch, and my quick launch got negated by my opponent flipping his Crossout, banish his copy of quick launch from the deck. And go back to the Salah topic. I remember there when Salah was like Salah mirror was very like dominant in the format. There were people even say, yeah, in the Salah mirror, since you can almost know what their back or the trap they get because they sort of mail it and search it, right? So there, when you start your turn in a Salah mirror, you can just start with cross out, banish the copy you have from your deck, so you won't get interrupted by their copy for the rest of the turn. So you can full combo after that. That's another cool idea with it. Another thing is a very fun way is in invokes where think about it. If you have ever played invoke, how many times where you drew an invocation without an Alistair? It's quite a lot, not gonna lie. And sometimes it's a very annoying because you can't really do any of your combos later. Invocation itself is a brick without any Alistairs. So fun thing you can do is like you can maybe set both, hope your opponent try to pop your back rolls, then hopefully they pop the invocation. At their end phase, you can go actively cross out, banish your Alistair. Yes, banish your Alistair from the deck with cross out. So obviously your opponent's not playing like it's not an Invoker Merit match. This crossout will not negate any possible Alistair that turn. But however, when you get to next turn, since now you have a banished Alistair, you can just go active invocation, put it back to deck, and straight add the Alistair back at the beginning of the turn. Then since you activate the crossout during last turn, it's not like Call by Grave where it lasts kind of 2 turns. Crossout only negate for the rest of that turn to activate. So you can just start with your turn with like normal Alistair grabbing vacation. Now you start doing things. You kind of just searched Alistair without really searching it, without really drawing it. But that's a cool way, a cool interaction you can really do with Crossout and like invoke variant decks. So yeah, that's pretty much things I want to cover about Crossout Designator. It's a very like funny. It's a very fun card. It will change the hand trap lineup in every decks quite a bit because now you have to run those one offs just for the target of this. So or you're gonna run like 2 offs in case where you want to banish it but you don't want to draw it, so you couldn't banish another copy. So yeah, that's like what can happen. By the time this video is recording, the car isn't coming out in the TCG yet, and we don't even know when it will be. But hopefully we'll get it soon. And by the time this car actually comes out in TCG, hopefully you come back and watch this video again. Hope you learned something. So yeah, this is for Crossout Designator for mainly the topic today of the episode. I know everyone who has been watching so long for this episode might have a question. Did I miss anything? Yes, I did. I purposely did not include one thing, which is this last card here, which is the card that I've been talking quite a lot in the past months. It's Triple Tactics Talent. Yes, a lot of people were waiting for it. I think this card, yes, it's another copy that sort of another copy of anti-HandTrap cards. However, it's quite complicated. But like me and one of my best friend Cody Angelov, probably a lot of people know it, one of the best player in the country at this point. We usually have huge arguments on this card, like very huge debates with just how is this card even good or bad or anything else, right? It's a very situational one. I'm not gonna talk about it as much more in this episode. And the next episode will specifically focusing on this card. So if you're interested, please come back and watch it. And if you have any comments, any suggestions, any questions, feel free to just type it out in the comment section. I will be answering. I will be answering almost all of them when I'm free. And if you like any contents like this, or you feel like helpful, interested, you think it's beneficial to you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah. So this is today's episode about Crossout Designator. I will see everyone in the next episode about Triple Tactics Talent in the future. All right, see everyone in the lab. See ya.